Hey guys, we're back for another video of Dan from the Footy Brains podcast. How are you, mate?
Mate, I am excellent. Looking forward to round 14 first of all, but then looking forward to Origin team lists just to see what gets selected this week because it'll be very interesting to see what comes of the teams on Monday night, I think, because there is a game on Monday. But yeah,
Yeah,
they're coming up.
yeah, that'll be really really keen to see. And to start with for this video, we're going through my team early on. What are your first thoughts on my team currently sitting at 14,000 overall rank, which isn't incredible, but personally I think that my team is better ranked than that, and I should drop down the ranks in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, mate, looking at that team and the fact that you're at 14K, it doesn't really correlate, to be honest. Like that team kind of in other seasons, you'd be like, wow, that's an absolutely gun team. To have a team that's like got that many guns in it at this point in the season, you wouldn't imagine. But there's been just so many, I think we've talked about this previously. There's been so many options over the first few weeks that have been that have allowed coaches to be able to make so much cash that most teams are stacked at this point. So to break from, the 14K mark where you're at, and I'm at about the same rank as well, to crack into the top 10K, 5K, 1K, it's actually quite hard. And you've kind of got to go a little bit pottish to crack those kind of ranks at the moment because everyone's got gun teams around the top ranks at the moment.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of see with this team is where I've kind of gone for a couple of those pod plays with Katoa there, Drinkwater, even the pod play of Holden, Iongi and both Purdue there, Turbo, Tedesco's even a pod, and then Havili, which I feel, but they're all pods that don't come with much risk, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, even the fact that you've held on to Ponga at this stage, he's
Yeah.
become a bit potty as well because a lot of players have jumped off him. Yeah, there's just so many good options around that I feel like most teams don't look similar at the top at the moment. Like, I feel like everyone's got kind of different teams and that you're just kind of jumping around in rank week after week just because everyone's teams are looking a little bit different. But like, obviously, most people have, your Mays, your Haases, your Clearys, but then there's a few players that a lot of people can't agree on and can't stick with, like Purdue at the moment. Like, I called him as a bit of a sell. I sold him out of my team last week, but if you held on to him, smashed out a 60 and unfortunately didn't get dual position, but might still score well in the halves, but still yet to be seen.
Yeah, and I think the thing about this year over other years is I have my lowest price player is 420K. If you would have people in this buy round, you would have gone with a
Yeah.
240K player, 250K player. But I think that the fact that I have none of them in my team kind of sets me up good for I can get more cash out to have more cash to be made.
Yeah, I mean, you look at your team there, like Savala, he started at 230K. Riley Smith started at 230K. Purdue, he was down there as well. Ayongi, yeah, there's so many players that have made just so much cash for coaches that it's kind of been a bit of a luxury year for us, to be honest.
Yeah. But I think there's still a lot of players here too, like Turbos and Ponga, who hopefully, if they can come back to
Yeah.
good form, are underpriced there.
Yeah, and become keepers in the long run. Let's just, yeah, fingers crossed, touch wood, no more injuries, and so hopefully some good form as well over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, but yeah, let's get into the very first player, top broad player this week, Toby Couchman. One game, second row, which is where he's listed this week. I think if he's playing 80 minutes at second row with the injury to Jayden Sewer for 1 to 3 weeks there, I still think Couchman playing round 16 and round 18 or 15 and 18, he's a must-have or close to a must-have this week.
I wouldn't say a must-have this week, but he's definitely a must-have for round 15. Like he's
Yeah.
going to probably be the best mid-edge player to have that week. If you can get him in, that's great. But he still has a high break-even of 64, so you're not losing. Oh, well, you're probably losing his score this week if you don't jump on him now, but you're not going to lose anything, hopefully price-wise next week if you wait for him. So yeah, he's a great buy if you can get him in. Otherwise, you can kind of wait a week on him and get him in at a similar price anyway next week as well.
And if you could kind of toss up between one of Aitken and Couchman, who would you go with this week?
Oh, I'd still stick with Couchman. He's just such a good scorer, and yeah, his role at the Dragons, he's always going to be playing big minutes, whether that's on an edge like with Sewer injured, or if it's through the middle as well. So, yeah, Couchman's going to be pretty critical for coaches towards the back end of the season following his injury.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit of a pod now these days at only 9 or 10% owned there. And another
Yeah, but
guy
he
that,
he should jump up though, right? Like most likely he's like by the end of the buy period, do you think he's probably what 20, 25% owned? He'll
yeah, I'd
become
say
one of the guns.
2025.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Another guy that I think will be up there too and is close, I think more of a must have than what's his face? Then Toby Couchman is Keaon Koloamatangi. Back to back 80-minute games and a 73-minute game, stopped a prop. 25 break even. He's just a must have this week, isn't he?
Yeah, it's kind of a difficult one because I talked to Josh on the pod last night about how like he's obviously a gun when he plays through the middle, scores huge, plays big minutes. He's similar to Terrell May in that fact that he just pumps out base stats. The problem now becomes because Barnett's done his ACL, does he get selected for Origin? Because he is one of the players there. Jacob Safidi's still out with injury. The only other one that you're kind of considering is probably Steph Utoikamanu. He's
Yeah.
probably the next one, next cab off the ranks. But does Koloamatangi come into calculations? He's played Origin before. Who knows? Like he's definitely playing well enough to be
From
considered
what
as a middle forward, but I
from
don't
what
know if he'll
I've
be
heard,
selected.
I do think they will go with Steph, and I also do think that they would have to pick May before they pick Keon.
That's the thing. May has kind of burnt his bridges a little bit after how he went about selection in game one. So I don't know. It could go either way, really. I have no idea what Laurie Daly's thinking. So yeah, I guess we'll see after this round where that kind of pans out. But I still think you could probably pick up Koloamatangi with some certainty that he's going to be a gun anyway or a keeper anyway. So even if he plays Origin, you still want to keep him in your team.
And the last pod captain we spoke up, I think, got about 50. Do you think this week Keon could be another pod captain playing through the middle with two huge scores? And is the 80-minute role, is it very, like it's going to happen week in and week out, you reckon?
Well, it's happened 2 weeks in a row since he's been a middle forward, and the weeks before that he had 73, and the week before that he had 80. So that game against the Knights, I think, was his last game on an edge, and then since then he's been a middle forward. So, yeah, I think based on the stats, I don't see why he would play less than 70 minutes at this stage. So I feel like you could probably, yeah, expect at least 70 minutes from him and at least a 60 at this stage because playing in the middle, there's just so many tackles and he gets a ton of meters as well. Like it's not like he's just standing there making tackles. He's actually taking on runs as well. I'd actually like to see what his stats are in terms of the amount of hit ups he gets through in 80 minutes as well because he's a workhorse through the middle.
Yeah, and I think definitely probably not maybe not one captain this week just because the other captaincies are so like May and Cleary are so they're going to go 70 and they're not really going to go lower, but they can go into the hundreds. And I don't really think Keon can bring on the hundreds, can he?
Oh, he can't bring on the hundreds, but I mean, last week he still got an 80. Like
Yeah.
it's not like he can't get a big score. He's definitely an option. He's a pod option though. Like you're kind of sticking with your Mays or your Clearys or your Haas's normally. So, yeah, if you're brave enough, I don't hate going for Koloamatangi, but yeah, there's obviously more reliable options.
Yeah, and then Jayden Campbell, who I have not owned at all this year. Now they're listed a fullback. Do you think that him a fullback is a bit worrying for you, or are you still keen on Campbell and are you still gonna buy him? Because the thing that stands out to me is a game against the Storm, he only kicked for 123 meters in play.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing I'd be keeping an eye on Campbell if you don't have him because he's not necessarily a must buy this week if you don't have him. Because he's playing at fullback, his stats will be a bit down in terms of his base, not getting, like you said, not getting those kick meters. He only managed a 60 with a try last week, so I'm not too keen to miss out on Campbell for this week. And the fact that he plays 15 then becomes more encouraging to buy him next week. I'm just hoping he drops a little bit of cash, so it makes him a bit more affordable next week. But yeah, at fullback, he doesn't normally score as well. So I think unless Brimson is cleared, because there was some news that he was trying to get cleared of a HIA,
Yeah.
cleared of the concussion protocols because he had a head injury before the game last week. So if he gets cleared of that and is cleared to play this week and does come into the team late, then I'd be more enticed to bring Campbell into my team because I assume Brimo would go to fullback and then Campbell would start or something like that would happen. Start in the
Even
half, sorry.
even with four in there, do you I don't think that affects his kick meters too much?
No, I don't think so. It didn't really affect it early in the season, so I don't think it's going to affect it too much. I still think you could probably lock him in as a pretty safe pretty safe option. Even at winger fullback, you'd happily take, even if he does lose a little bit of kick meters, you'd happily take a 50 from a winger fullback. It's probably just you wouldn't want to pay 770K for it. That's all.
Yeah, especially when you got a lot better winger fullbacks, or not a lot better, but some are more winger fullbacks who you can afford at a cheaper price.
Yeah, but it's not like Foran took all the kick meters. I think it was Weaver, was it not? Because Foran doesn't normally do a lot of the kicking
No,
anyway for the
yeah.
Tigers. Yeah.
But if you want a cash down this week, I think Nathan Lawson's probably the way to go. It looks like he's won that spot over Sloan, and with a 38 there, that looks like a good game there. Break even of 7. Do you have any interest in Lawson at all this week?
I love Lawson as a bit of a cash down option. If you need to make up, if you need to do a double trade to get a bit of cash to buy into a Koloamatangi or buy into a Couchman or someone like that. Yeah, Lawson's a great option. Like you said, he's won that spot. Sloane's dropped out of the team. Tuipulotu's come in on the other wing. If Tuipulotu's anything to go by and Lawson kind of follows that mold, then he should be in for plenty of price rises in the future. The one thing is that the other wingers are Matt Feeney. I think he's back in round 20, so you've still got a bit of time to make cash off Lawson. And Corey Allen did his hamstring as well, so even if he's a contender, he's still out for a while as well. So yeah, Lawson, you should get plenty of weeks out of him, make a bit of cash off him. I don't know what his scores are going to look like, to be honest. Like you look at those stats there, 7 tackle busts and 180 meters. Can he maintain that? Probably not, but I still think he gets you maybe a 25 to 30 odd score, and you just leave him on your emergencies, make a bit of cash off him. That's probably what he's worth.
Yeah, and if he had that wing fullback, Jewel, I probably could have gone Ione straight to Lawson, but so many round 12 or round 15 centers there that
Yeah.
it's probably not a number that you'll use in round 15.
Yeah, nor would you probably want to play him anyway. Like if you had other fit centers, you'd happily take them over Lawson.
Yeah, and then Heath Mason with a 54 last week, a break even of 6, maybe have won that 6 spot there. Do you think that he's an interesting cash down option too? Only thing that reads red flag for me is those 8 missed tackles that Heath had the other game against the Cowboys.
Yeah. Oh, the other red flag is Latu Fainu on the bench as well because
Yeah.
he's the long term halfback pairing there with Luai. So at this stage, if you didn't buy into Mason last week because we were saying he was going to be a decent cash down last week, I wouldn't buy into him now. I think I'd avoid him altogether. He'll probably get a score this week, and you could make a bit of cash, but longer term, he's probably going to cause you more headaches than he is be a success story because. Yeah, you're not going to know whether you're going to get a full 80 minutes out of him or if he's going to get spelled and Latu Fainu comes in and takes minutes off him, whether he gets attacking stats or scores tries as well. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot more headaches that Heath Mason causes. I think in the long term, you're probably better off going someone else.
Yeah, and he is a very good NRL player, but yeah, as you
Oh,
said,
he is.
probably just doesn't have the spot for long enough. And if Latu Fainu was to probably be a late exclusion from that bench, then he also could. But I think you might as well wait 1 week, give him the buy, then say if he is still there around 16, go on Heath, I'll buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Because if he can hold that spot, yeah, he's got great value. But I mean, they have Latu Fainu because they wanted him to be a halves pairing probably with Luai in the long run. I don't know where Galvin came into it, but they brought in Fainu before Galvin started playing as their main halfback. So now that Galvin's gone, it just seems like the obvious choice. But I mean, stranger things have happened. You never know.
What do you what do you think of the Galvin in the reserves for the Bulldogs after leaving Tigers?
Oh, he's got to be a late inclusion, right? Surely Sexton moves to the bench or even is dropped out completely and Galvin comes in. You don't create all this mess midway through the season just to leave him on the reserves or not even include him in the 17. So, yeah, he'll be in the team, I reckon.
It'd be a bit of karma. Leave the team that gave you pretty much everything you could ask for and then get put on the bench for your new team or the extended bench for your new team.
Yeah, exactly. Not get a game in first grade. That'd be pretty crazy. It's very
Yeah.
strange from the Bulldogs as well. Like, on top of the ladder, absolutely killing it at the moment. And then they create all this mess to bring in Galvin, kind of trying to break apart their squad to fit him in. It should be fine, but it could just break their system a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out for them.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. And then Damian Cook, 603K now, breaking even 28, but he looks like he's gone back-to-back big minute games and back-to-back big scores there. Do you have any interest in Damian Cook and being your round 15 hooker?
I've got interest, but I'm definitely going to wait another week. I don't know if I trust that he's going to get at like 70 plus minutes every week. I mean, just looking at those minutes there on the screen, like they're kind of all over the place, and he started to get big minutes back in what round 5, 6, 7 there, and then he went back to playing 40. So yeah, I'm waiting one more week before I pull the trigger on Damian Cook, but definitely a great pod option at hooker. And if he does, keep stringing these 80-minute performances together, then yeah, there's definitely value there.
Yeah, I think like he has gone games where like he had from round 2 to round 7, he was kind of playing big minute games and then lost his minutes there. And I think that if Cook wants to be relevant, he needs to play 80 minutes. So personally,
Yep.
I'm going to give him one more week to prove that because I got 603K. Obviously, it's a no-brainer to buy an 80-minute Damien Cook.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you were dead set on like you knew he was going to be playing 80 every week, you'd absolutely take him at that price. But with Jacob Little on the bench and the way that they rotate their forwards, you just you just don't know with the Dragons.
Can't believe he's gone back-to-back try assists, and it took him around 11 to get his first try assist.
Yeah, I mean, pretty crazy because normally he's always, he darts out of the line inside 10 and just drops it to one of the front rowers to fall over. That's like kind of his play normally for a try assist, and it took him so long to get to that. But anyway, he's starting to get those try involvements now, which is good to see.
Yeah, and Jack Williams, the guy that just keeps on going, doesn't play 15 and 18, but if you were a holder or even someone looking to buy Jack with the 62, 57, and 73 last three average or scores there, do you have any interest in Jack maybe being a season-long keeper?
What a pod play this would be. So it's so hard to judge because it looks like he's kind of turned a corner in form, and he's a similar kind of player to like your Koloamatangis and your Mays through them, just playing big minutes in a prop role and just making plenty of tackles and meters through the middle. Doesn't get the kind of stats that they do, but he's definitely a hard worker in the middle. There isn't really any other forwards that Parramatta have either, so they're obviously leaning on him to take a bit of that workload through the middle. Hopgood's got his bad back that he's still trying to recover from, hasn't been getting big minutes. It's not like you're going to get big minutes out of these other prop forwards as well, like your Ryan Madisons and the like. Like it just seems like there had to be a player, and Jack Williams, it seems like he's getting the minutes. Whether the scores will keep coming, it's yet to be seen, but mate, so far so good. If you're a braver man than I, if you jump on the Jack Williams pod train, but yeah, definitely a pod player that you can look to get in. Um, yeah, just hate that he doesn't play 15 and 18. That's what's going to hurt you if you buy into him.
Yeah, I think I would definitely be out buying him if he was to play 15 or 18, but the fact there is he doesn't. But I do think if you're a head-to-head player or don't really play overall and you're looking for a big pod play to go with,
Yeah,
that's probably going to score quite well. I do think Jack Williams is your man, or what about our man?
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you do play head to head and your league setup doesn't have the buy rounds, then Jack Williams is a great purchase because yeah, he'll be a differentiator. Not a lot of people are going to have him.
And then Scott Drinkwater still for break even of 66 there, but pumped out of 62 on the weekend. Do you think that he is probably one of the best wing fullbacks you can go with this week? He just does so much for this Cowboys team. And keep in mind, round 15 and 18, he's going to have to do even more probably in play kicking with Tommy Dearden going to Origin.
Yeah, oh, he's a great player to get for these buy rounds because now the Cowboys don't have a buy till 27, right? If I'm reading
Yeah,
the screen correctly.
I
So
think that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
any of these Cowboys are great to get in, really, that you can get good scores out of. But Drinkwater, yeah, he's going to be the best of them. I think I'm going to wait one more week on him if you don't have him already because they're playing the Storm this week, and generally most teams fantasy scores against the Storm are pretty poor. So I would wait one more week if you don't have him already, and then buy him to him next week. So hopefully you get a bit more of a discount on him. So, but for those that have him, you're absolutely going to play him. He's still going to score well. Just fingers crossed he doesn't score too well, that I can get a bit of a discount for next week because he's on my short list.
No, I'm hoping he scores huge this week, me being an owner
Of
of him
course.
for the whole season.
Yep.
But yeah, I think he's a very solid buy there with that.
Yep.
Yeah, playing 15, 18, and quite a discount for Drinky too. I feel like you know what he can do, and we've seen he's got when the Cowboys go on runs and he goes on runs. Good luck catching them.
Yeah, he's back to his starting price as well that he started the season at. See, so 654 he started the season at. He's 657 currently. So he's gone up and down, I think, since then. Yeah, he's gone up over 700K. So if you can get him at the price that he's at now, yeah, absolutely, you'd buy into him.
Yeah, and he's doing the goal kicking too.
Exactly.
Euan Aitken, 650K. He's back to second row where he scores best, and with a break even of 36, does play 15 and 18. I think that Ewan at 650K is a very big discount there, and it's probably close to a very good buy. The only problem is that risk of moving to the centres.
Yeah, look, Jack Whiten's back, and so is Cody Walker. So the likelihood that he moves to centre is very low now. Even when they were gone, he wasn't playing centre. So obviously, there's a concerted effort to make sure he's in the back row because that's where Wayne Bennett had him for the Dolphins as well. So yeah, if you can get Aitken in, he's an absolute locked-in 50-point scorer plus every week. Yeah, just get him in if you can because he's gonna be an easy set and forget option for the rest of the season.
And when we're talking about his guy more, but if you could go Zack Hosking to Euan Aitken, would you be tempted to do that?
Oh, that's a hard one. I trust. I've got faith in Hosking, so I think
Yeah.
I obviously he hasn't been going too well over the last couple of weeks, but I trust that Hosking will get back on track and start to get a few more attacking stats soon. So I think I would hold Hosking if you have him. I know he doesn't play 15, but I still think there's scores ahead of him, and I think the Raiders do play 18, so he'll still be a useful number in 18.
Geez, Aitken was good in the second row last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And he scored so many tries as well, so he's
Yeah.
definitely an attacking threat. Once they've got their whole squad back post Origin.
And then another wing fullback coming in for the Broncos at 466K. It just seems to be a cheap discount gun wing fullbacks this season is the way everyone seems to be going. But Reece Walsh, um, he's had a terrible season to date. Here, there could be maybe a little bit of risk that he comes into Origin for round 15. But would you be looking to buy him this week? If not this week, would you be looking to buy him in round 17 when around 16, considering he plays round 18 there?
He's definitely an option. I just think Ponga was a non-factor for Queensland in game one. So I think if Walsh has even a half decent game this week, Billy's just going to bring him straight back into the team. So I am avoiding Walsh for now. Plus, I think I'd want to see Walsh play well before I buy into him because you look at how many games in a row he had poor scores. I think I'd want to see him start to string a few good scores together for Brisbane before I buy into him because they've been wildly inconsistent. What was the stat was what they've won 1 in 7 of their
Yeah,
last games?
something like that.
Yeah, and I mean they've played well in some of them, but the one most recently was yeah, they were shocking. So I think I'd rather see Walsh play well before I buy into him, and the risk of Origin is just too high. So I think waiting till post round 18 is probably perfect for Reece Walsh. But if you like a bit of risk, by all means, feel free. I think I'd prefer Turbo actually over Walsh because I think Turbo's less likely to get selected for Origin.
The fact that he get a negative one in 80 minutes kind of puts me off. But whilst
Crazy, yeah.
I don't really think he was ever relevant this year at 700K. And obviously, he might become relevant if he plays like bad this game, but gets put in Origin, then like low minutes or not 100 or not 80 minutes in a round when he's backing up and could get a 350, 400K. And that's when you probably buy him. But 466K for 47 break even and that Origin risk just seems too risky, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit too much risk around Reece Walsh at the moment. And
Yeah, and then
returning
playing
from
Haas.
injury, like it's crazy. Like it was a significant knee injury, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah, you're probably going to avoid for now.
Payne has been spoken about a lot. For 58 minutes for a 45 there, break into 100. A lot of people selling him, but the thing that stands out to me is he's been able to pump out big scores in small minutes. And I do think that he got the minutes on the weekend to pump out another big score. It was just he's a bit tired probably from Origin. And I don't care if he has around 100 break even or a 200 break even or even a 400 break even. He's Payne Haas, and I think 930K. It's not worth. Everyone would have already wasted probably one trade bringing him in. I don't think it's worth wasting another trade bringing him out, then another trade bringing him back in. So that's three trades wasted there. Where I think you can just hold Haas and he'll probably get a good score this week, considering that they're back to full strength and he doesn't need a backup from Origin.
Yeah, not a chance that I'm going to waste trades getting him out and trying to get him back in. So yeah, he's absolutely staying put in my team, and I think I understand the reasoning a lot of the comments that I've seen on posts and the kind of rhetoric around it is that, oh, you can sell him now at 930 and hopefully post Origin he'll be around, 700K and you'll save all that money and buy other players. But all the trades that you churn through in doing those moves, and even if you save, 200K here and there, you're still going to have to make more trades to bring him back in because you're still going to have to drop other players to bring him back in. So I I just don't see the value in stuffing around your team just to save a little bit of cash on Payne Haas because you can make better trades elsewhere than having to take Haas out and put him back in. So
It's
yeah,
kind of
it's
like
not
the
worth it.
it's kind of like the Ponga situation. Like he was already so cheap at like 600K, and you're like, it's no use really selling him at 600K because eventually Ponga's going to come back. Like
Yeah,
he's been one of the greatest or one of the best players in the league for so many years, and you think you're selling him at 600K, and it's probably one you want to finish a year with.
yeah, exactly. It's not. It's just not worth doing.
Yeah,
It's not worth wasting those trades.
and Rob Toia, so back to Origin probably there. Buy this week, doesn't play next week. Buy 17, doesn't play 18. He's just a clear sell, isn't he?
Yeah, he's shaping as a not a must sell, but like if you need to get the numbers and you have to get rid of Toya, you're selling Toya. Obviously he's still making cash, still has low break even, but yeah, if you need to make up the numbers, you're selling Toya because Talangi didn't. He's not playing this week. He wasn't named, so most likely Toya still gets named in the Queensland squad post this weekend. So yeah, unfortunately, he's going to miss this round. He's going to miss next round. He'll play post Origin most likely, but yeah, if you need that extra number, feel free to sell Toya at this stage.
Personally, I don't think Toya was that bad either in Origin. Like he
Yeah,
wasn't
he did his job.
Queensland's he wasn't Queensland's worst
Yeah,
player that they need to get rid of him instantly.
yeah, exactly. And mate, he was up against Latrell and he held his own. Like,
Oh yeah,
what
definitely.
more could you ask of as a rookie coming into his debut game for Queensland?
Yeah, hopefully the win, but that's coming. And then Hugo Savala. So there is a bit of speculation that Hugo might be getting dropped with Sam Walker, but it also could be what's his face? I don't say Steve Smith. Be nice if you had him in fantasy. Sandon Smith, that could probably get dropped considering he's signed for the Cowboys now. Hugo has been killing it all year long. Do you agree that you hold Hugo until he gets dropped?
Yeah, even if Sandon Smith gets dropped, I still think Savala's going to lose a lot of his value because he's going to lose a lot of those kick meters once Walker comes back. But until I see a game with Walker in the squad, I'm holding on to Savala basically. So until he's completely dropped out of the team or I see him score poorly when Walker's back, I am holding on because he's been an absolute stud for the Roosters. Like he hasn't been amazing. Yes, he's had some pretty good glimpses and some good games, but he's just done his job, and that's all he's really needed to do as a halfback. Plenty of kicks, set up some tries, and just tackle. That's all you need to do. And yeah, he's done it, which is
The
good.
thing about Savala is he does play round 15 too, and I think
Yep.
with Walker, he wasn't even listed in the Roosters reserves for Q Cup or New South Wales Cup this weekend, which probably makes them think that he's another week away, and it's worth holding Savala because then you get the round 15 score.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be worrying about trying to trade Savala and trying to be ahead of the curve or something like that. Like you have insider information on what the Roosters are doing. It's just, yeah, you're better off waiting and seeing.
Yeah. How good was that offload try assist to James Tedesco? Being a owner of both of them, I was cheering Leo.
Yeah, yeah, you don't see that. I was going to say you don't see it often, but you kind of do see it every now and then from a few players. So yeah, I mean, to do it in your first season is pretty
Yeah,
good.
I think he's got a huge future ahead of him, Hugo.
Yeah, for sure.
Mitch Barnett is just a clear sell now. There's not much to say. ACL gone, but what options coming into Mitch Barnett's prop? Do you think that Jackson Ford could be an interesting option to bring in now?
Yeah, Ford becomes the most interesting one now that he's starting. But again, the same thing with Jack Williams, right? They missed 15 and 18. Is it worth buying into him, or is it better? Are you better off just like having Clark really as the only option there? Because if you've already got Clark and then you buy into Ford as well, it's just two players that are going to be missing the 15-18 buy. I think you're probably better off just waiting. Clark is probably the only one that you kind of must have now, Clark, really, because like he is going to be the best hooker option over the course of the season with Mitch Barnett out now because he's going to be playing big minutes in the middle to make up for that loss. So all these other assets, I think I'd be waiting till post Origin just because the buys. But there's going to be some players that come out of nowhere that become really good players for this Warriors, well, fantasy players anyway for this Warriors team because there's just so many minutes that Barnett leaves on the table for them now.
I do think that if you are looking for a very, very smoky play this week, James Fisher-Harris could be quite a good buy there, considering now that Barnett's kind of gone down. And I feel like they've had three big middles in Clark, Fisher-Harris, Barnett, and now they're going to need Fisher-Harris to step up along with
Yep.
Clark there. So I'd say you could get anywhere from Fisher-Harris 60 to 65 minutes where I think you will know what he can score in those big minutes there.
Yeah, I actually rate that completely. Fisher Harris, and he's still pretty cheap, right? He's like under 600K, I think, Fisher Harris.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
let's have a quick look.
Probably not worth going with considering he doesn't play 15 or 18, but after the bye rounds, he could be very interesting there.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you can get him at a discount, he's at 567K with a break even of 45. He shouldn't change too much this week against the Sharks, so you kind of get a bit of a glimpse of how he plays without Barnett or what his minutes look like without Barnett. And then if you have enough players for round 18, you may be able to buy into him in round 16 or 17. So yeah, definitely keep him on your radar.
Yeah, I think that's one really to watch there. And Jamal Fogarty, where do you sit with him considering 726K? Went injured last week, but has killed it, hasn't he? He doesn't play round 15, which you could lean towards maybe selling. But personally, I think that he's back this week and he's just a clear hold. Do you tend to agree?
Yeah, he's probably a hold till round 19, at which point you might reconsider for other better options. But for now, I don't think there's a harm in holding on to him at all. So, yeah, I think there was some news that he might be a late out this week as he's still managing that groin issue. But it's hard to be able to go off that kind of mail because he was named in the team. So he's just going to be a wait and see. But I think I'd still be holding anyway.
Do you believe the Daly Cherry Evans rumours that he is going to get dropped from Origin? Because if they are true, I think I like the huge pod play of Jamal to Daly Cherry Evans for the round 15 and 18 buy, and
Wow.
Cherry at 655K I think is a cracking buy.
That is very ballsy. If you do that, mate, you're you're a braver man than I. That's crazy. I wouldn't buy into the whole dropping Daly just because he had one bad game with Queensland narrative. I don't think I think he'll still be named after this weekend. He's too critical of a piece. Like yes, he played poorly in one game, but he's also been awesome for their team over the years. So I don't think he's going to get dropped.
Yeah, I don't think he will get dropped. And I wouldn't drop him for Dearden, considering the fact that Daly's so much more experienced. I maybe might drop him to start Hunt, but I don't think he's going to be back there, and he's
Yeah.
almost an Origin immortal Hunt.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate that he got injured at the time that he did because he would have been on the team, on the bench somewhere for sure. So, yeah, unfortunate for him. But yeah, at least it gives Dearden a bit of a crack, right? Because he is good enough, Dearden, to be playing at that level, and he's shown glimpses for the Cowboys that he can be elite level as well, but just hasn't had that kind of opportunity in Origin yet.
So you look at this now. Do you think that Zack Hosking is done? Like fantasy scoring just doesn't seem to be there with that big of a PPM there. Like you see, he's gone 29 and 41 minutes off the bench, 48 and 45 with a try, then a 38 and 47, a 58 and 62 with a try, 52 and 68 with a try, 37 and 75, and 42 and 68. And he's a player that has a career average of about 0.9 ppm. With that kept in mind, do you think that there is a chance that he could be a sell?
I refuse to believe that Zach Hosking is a sell. I don't care what data you put in front of me. I refuse to believe that he's a sell. Um, I maybe I'm just thinking, hard overhead with Hosking, but just looking at his previous games, for all the clubs he's played for in the past, the Broncos, the Panthers, and now with the Raiders, he proves that he can be an absolute PPM beast. Yes, he's had a couple of down games in the last couple of weeks, but I think they're outliers rather than the rule. So I'm going to fall back on the rule with Hosking, and he'll come back to scoring 50 plus in no time, I think.
Yeah, I do
I,
think that
I
at
just don't
least
see
if
it.
you are gonna sell him, at least give him one more week and then sell him for around 15. I feel is one place you could Maybe sell them, but I wouldn't be going anywhere near selling them.
So looking at that just there, right? 16% ownership amongst all fantasy coaches, 78% ownership in the top 5,000. There's a reason that the better coaches in the game have him in their team.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
and
you
yeah, I
kind of got
think
to go with that.
he's kind of one to sell. And then let's talk through this guy that I'm looking to bring in my team this week. You see, he's gone 39 and 68 minutes with a try, 40 and 51 with a try, and then 59 and 70 with no tries. A 10 break even plays 15 and 18 dual position hooker mid in a really, really tough hooking position there. Do you have any interest in Havili as a buy at all at that cheaper price?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of interest here. Just if you need the hooker, the hooker position covered for 15. I think a lot of coaches though have Tavanga at the moment, and they probably don't want to double up. The only other good thing about him is that he's dual position, so you can use him in that mid slot as well. Although there probably are better options to have in your mids for round 15. Havili does a job because he's so cheap, and he should have that position until either Mamazelis comes back from his elbow injury or Brendan Spitz brought into the team returning from his ACL injury, which is still a bit away. Like he's still probably got another at least 2 to 3 weeks before he even gets around this squad. He hasn't trained for them or played for them because he's been at the Roosters for the start of this season. So Havili probably still has a decent run in this squad. I don't know with the return of Cody Walker what that does with Jayden Sullivan off the bench, whether he gets some of Havili's minutes. That is still a question that's in the air because this is the first week that that's happened. But I still think Havili still gets you 50 to 60 minutes in that role, which should give you about a 40 odd score, 35, 40 odd score. And he'll do a job for you for round 15, right? You just need a player on the field. And for 420k, you kind of know what you're going to get. So, yeah, I don't hate Havili as an option. He's just not the greatest. He's kind of your safe option.
Yeah, and kind of along with that 10 break even there, like he's got to make your money too. Like you say
Exactly.
if he gets probably the next month of 55 to 60 minute games, you can probably say you'll be selling him at 520k and probably bank 100k in price rises over that month is where I would probably say you're taking that 100k and then you move him on to a season keeper for the rest of your season.
Yeah, pretty much. You just use him for these Origin buys, hopefully. Hopefully he gets to round 18 before any of
Mm.
those players return. But yeah, you use him, you abuse him for that time, and then you move him on.
And even if Hubner does go down with Keaon playing so well at middle, does Havili maybe get the lock position too if this is all theoretically if Hubner was to go down?
Yeah, potentially. He's still going to be around this squad somewhere. What was he doing before? When Mamazelis was playing, he was off the bench, wasn't he? He was kind
Yeah,
of a
playing like
utility
30
player.
minutes a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be around the team regardless, so he's still worth buying into if even if you just need someone to fill a spot, like we've been saying. Like if you just need a 15, 18 cover, and you need a hooker or a mid for that cover, yeah, he's not a bad option at all.
Yeah,
Because
and then
Tavanga's
one
kind of
other
lost
hooker.
his value now as well. Because now that Gerbo's back, unless he gets selected for Origin, and I didn't even think about him until now, he could get selected with Barnett's injury. So there's always that option for New South Wales. It means that Tavanga would have value, but otherwise Tavanga is kind of going to go downhill now that Jake's back in the Manly picture.
Yeah, and then I think another hooker that I would almost say that I go Havili over Blake Brayley because Havili has the chance to make money when Blake kind of sits around that 50 scoring there and doesn't make much money at all. Do you think that you could bring in Blake at all? Or is it kind of a useless trade?
Yeah, I'd prefer to go to Havili if that was the option because Blake is kind of in a similar position, right? Like, yes, he can score well, but he's not going to be your keeper for the season, and you're going to want to trade him out anyway at some point for a better hooker option. And with the cash that you make from Havili, you will be able to trade him on to someone else with that cash, like at a higher level. So I'd prefer to at least spend my trade to make cash rather than spend my trade to not do anything with it, right? Because Brayley will come into the team, he'll stay at about the same price, and then you'll move him on at some point. So you may as well be getting something out of making the trade than nothing.
Yeah, and then Jackson Purdue playing a 5'8" there, went big on the weekend with a 65. I think Purdue is a little bit up and down, but he looks like a very good player, and he plays round 15 and 18, which is probably one that you hold until round 19 at least if you've held him this far.
Yeah, pretty much. Got a bit of hate for this one because I said to trade him last week. But I'm still happy I traded. I traded him up to Koloamatangi, so I can't complain at all with my with my decision. But look, if you've still got Purdue, you're probably just going to hold him until he keeps making you until the point that he's made enough cash for you to sell him on. I don't think he's going to be a season-long keeper, and he didn't get the dual position this week because he hadn't played enough games at halfback, which is unfortunate for those that held on to him. But yeah, I think at any point now you could probably sell him on, but ideally you'd keep him just to cover Origin at this point.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of they probably could get very high price being in 5'8" at like 600K now, or even
He just
650K if he goes on a run like he's been doing.
he needs to get more base stats. He can't
Yeah,
rely on attacking stats. Like he had two try assists and a try, I think, in that 60.
yeah, and only got
Um,
65.
Yeah, so he can't rely on just attacking stats week in, week out. If he gets, 200 odd kick meters as well, then we're talking someone that we can keep.
Yeah, and then Joe Tapine, 73 break even with a 58, 55, 50 over the last 2 weeks. Where do you sit with Joseph currently as a sell or a hold?
Yeah, this is a difficult one because I've been contemplating this week. It's a bit of a luxury trade to trade out Tarpany, but you ideally want to get a mid in that's going to be playing around 15. Yes, he plays 18, so it'd be useful then. But if you're running short this round, going sideways from Tarpany to Couchman looks kind of like a good deal at this point. So it depends on your team here. I think you can hold him and wait till post Origin. But if you need a number for 15, I don't hate selling him either. So yeah, to each their own with Tarpany. Go with your gut on what you think, but I do see the value in trading him to get coverage for both of the remaining buy rounds. So yeah,
Yeah,
you can kind of hold or sell.
I do agree there, and I don't think he's really holding his own with those minutes there. Like, I don't think Tapine isn't paying Haas. Like, he's not going to pump out those huge scores consistently with those type of minutes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, yeah, he used to. I remember there was a season where he was consistently getting like 65, 70 minutes and he was getting, yeah, 70s off the back of it. So, I mean, if he can get back to that, it'd be great. But I just don't think that's going to happen considering the Raiders forward pack. Like, you got Morgan Smithies who can play big minutes, you got Corey Horsburgh who can play big minutes. So, I just don't think he's going to need to play those kind of minutes again
Yeah, and his
without
minutes have
any
only
changes.
they've only gone down too since you got your cover your forwards back there too.
Yeah.
Two more to go. Fletcher Sharpe with a 22 there. Where do you sit with Fletcher now? He's gone 31, 98, and a 22. Round 15, he's definitely a hold. But would you be looking to buy Fletcher at all now off that 22?
Not at the moment, but I'm definitely waiting for him to come down in price so I can buy him. I've been touting him as a buy, but I just have never had the chance in terms of what positions I needed in my team to get him in. So I want to get him in, but this has kind of given me a good opportunity to watch him drop a bit in price. So if you've got him, you're holding him. If you don't have him, I probably wouldn't buy into him at this point, just because he only plays round 15, then he'll miss round 18. So I think I'd hold off for now.
Yeah, and I think there could probably be maybe a little bit more risk with him going back to fullback for round 15 too if Ponga is to hold that origin spot where, okay, yes, he scored that 98, but you see Knights didn't look good and Fletcher Sharpe didn't look good at the back round next last round.
Yeah, the other thing to note in that 98, I'm pretty sure he was on like 17 or 16 at halftime as
Yeah,
well. So, yeah, important to note he did all that attacking work in the second half.
yeah, and then last one, Dalatri, we've kind of already spoken about him, but 655K, if he does get dropped from Origin, I think we all know what Daly can do. Would you be tempted to pull the trigger on him considering he plays 15 and 18?
Nah, I think Daly's probably one that it's past his, in terms of fantasy production from Daly, he's kind of past his time. Now that Luke Brooks is there, he's taking a lot of his work from him. He does have the games where he is heavily involved and he gets, 70s, 80s plus, but I think there's just better half options. Like you look at Katoa, who's getting all the kick meters for the Dolphins. You've got Jayden Campbell. You've got even Metcalf at the moment is absolutely tearing it up for the Warriors. Obviously, you got Cleary. There's Hines around as well, who's kind of dropped back to the pack a bit. But yeah, there's so many good half options. I think Daly is probably not in the picture as the best half for fantasy anymore.
Yeah,
And
I
there's
think
cheaper players that have better coverage, like Matt Burton, even at the moment.
yeah, he's been such a good player for so many years, and I think people are kind of holding sentimental attachment to him. But I think it's probably time to say that he's going to slow down in the next couple of years.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Still a great half, still great for Manly. Just fantasy value just isn't there anymore for Daly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's all the players we got to talk about. Do you have any last players or any last comments that you want to add in?
Actually, speaking of Metcalf, what are your thoughts around him? Because he's a guy that obviously a lot of coaches brought in early, start of the season, to make a bit of cash off. He obviously fumbled round one, which meant a lot of coaches sold him. But since then, he's been just going from strength to strength in this Warriors pack. He's now worth over 700k and scoring quite well. If you had, this is mainly for coaches that still have Metcalf. If you have Metcalf, are you jumping off, or do you think you see him as like a long-term keeper in that half position?
I don't think I see him finishing in probably the top 3 to 4 halves this season, but I think that he's done enough that it kind of looks like a stupid sell at this current moment. Like he's doing so much in play kicking, he's goal kicking, he's defending well, and he's getting tries and try assists and that there. I think that it's kind of a luxury trade to trade him out this week.
Okay, but there is going to be a point you think that Metcalf is a sell this season. Like he's not going to be a
Yeah,
season
like
long keeper.
I think you've got Cleary, Katoa, Campbell that are going to be better than him in the halves off the top of my head, and
Yep,
probably Fogarty. I think will be better than Metcalf.
and probably Sharp is in and around there as well.
Yeah, Sharp, and I think that he's probably going to be fifth to sixth best keeper, and you could maybe jump off him in round 15 and just say he's made enough money for me, but I just don't think there's enough good unless you go to Katoa. I don't think there's enough good round 15 halves really to trade in.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I was just curious because, yeah, I mean, everyone saw him as just a cash cow option, maybe make 100, 200k off him, but now he's kind of turned in a bit of a corner and he's kind of the heart of the Warriors at the moment. So, yeah, just curious.
Yeah, I mean, he could definitely do what SJ did a couple of years ago and
Yep.
go ballistic. But and it definitely could be a season long keeper too.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna see how he pans out this year, and I'm gonna keep him in mind for like following seasons because he could turn out to be similar to an SJ type player where he just controls the whole team and does all the kicking and does everything pretty much. So we'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, it's great. Thanks for joining us once again, and good luck to your team, and we'll see you in the next one.
Cheers.